Chapter 1. Rockabye. West Ham United 0, Manchester City 5. FA Cup third round, 6th of January 2017. As soon as the draw had been made for the third round of the 2016-17 FA Cup, it became clear it would be our last game in the competition for 12 months. Manchester City were riding high and scoring for fun. West Ham playing an awkward brand of nervous football at the London Stadium that invariably ended in painful victory or humiliating defeat. But hope springs eternal, as it had done for me since I first started supporting the Hammers in 1975, and I bought a ticket even though the game had the added negative factor of being played on a Friday night for the benefit of television. My ticket arrived, but I didn't use it. I didn't go. Not because of the way the team were playing, not because I didn't enjoy the whole matchday experience like we used to at Upton Park, not because I've become a bit flaky of late and any excuse not to go to the game will be grabbed, and not because it was a Friday night and on TV anyway. I didn't go because my father was dying. My sister called me on the Thursday morning to suggest I take the day off work and come to see Dad as it seemed the end was near. It had been a difficult few weeks watching my father suffering from dementia and cancer, in obvious pain and slowly fading away. The hospice delivered a special bed so we could nurse him at home, and that's what we did. Me, my two sisters and my mother taking turns to make sure he wasn't alone. Talking to him, playing him his favourite pieces of music, reminiscing about our childhoods. We knew we could not bring him back, but we wanted to try to make his last few hours as peaceful and pleasant as they could be. By the time the Friday evening came around, we knew it would not be long. I thought long and hard about switching on the TV in his room before deciding it was what he would want, to at least hear a West Ham game for the last time. As the fifth goal went in, I was sure I saw a knowing smile furnish his lips. It would have been nice if we'd have been able to upset the odds. It would have been one last hurrah just for my dad, but it wasn't to be. He passed away a couple of hours later. I didn't give the football a second thought. I watched the game with tears in my eyes and his hand in mine, just as it had been when he took me to my first game in 1978. Not because West Ham were laying down for another embarrassing pasting, but because I was losing my long-standing and best friend. He was my biggest supporter, my inspiration, my hero. The point? Just this. Bill Shankly was wrong. Football is not more important than life and death. I would have loved to have gone to one more game with my dad, but I would rather have him here with me in a world without football than live without him in a world with it. Football is only a game after all. It is on the back pages of the newspaper for a reason. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But we make it important because of what it means to us. It helps us to forget about what is on the front pages and the more pressing issues in our own lives. Football, as with most hobbies, is just another elaborate way of wasting time. In that respect, it does serve an important role. And a few days later, when I met up with my two nephews before the game against Crystal Palace, we contrived to believe Andy Carroll's spectacular bicycle kick was a parting gift for Dad. You may well ask then, given football is so rubbish and unimportant, why am I writing another book about football? Why now, 15 years after my last book, The Legacy of Barry Green? Anyone who has ever written a book with an audience of a few thousand rather than a few million will know it isn't for the cash. I had always said I would not write another book unless it was a ghost-written autobiography or a novel. But I was on holiday, and this was a good time to reflect on the past and consider the future. Holidays are not what they used to be, though, with social media keeping you abreast of every minuscule rumour and news item around the club as long as you take the trouble to buy into it. I was becoming tired of the daily diatribes about the team, about the board, about the new stadium, and the constant looking back at how great things used to be and how terrible they are now. It was getting under my skin. I hated seeing the club I love portrayed in such a negative manner. It seemed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I firmly believed I could write a book that would be wearing its hat at a jaunty angle, poke fun at the way things are, and point to a brighter future. Then I actually started to write it and realised trying to put a positive spin on current events is virtually impossible. So the book has morphed into something else. It has become a testament to the fact that no matter how hard you try to be positive about the current situation we find ourselves in, it is an impossible task. And the mood is such that until there are sweeping changes in the way the club is run, that will not change. I'm not here to peddle doom and gloom, but to try to at least provide some gallows humour. But I also wanted the book to point out our recent history, the history everybody loves and the traditions we remember so fondly. Was it really as good as we remember? Or were we just as discontent, or maybe even more so during our bond scheme protests? After relegation in 1989? After the baffling appointment of Glenn Roeder as manager when the North Bank was demolished? What would social media as we know it today have made of those events? The collision, and I use the word advisedly, of astronomical amounts of money in the English game and astronomical numbers of idiots on social media makes for a potent mixture. The game has a global audience, and on social media you have a group of people who crave attention, regardless of whether they have a valid opinion or not. Life is all about perspective. It's about seeing things from other people's points of view, comparing it to your own and taking something from it. It's about ranking things in order of importance and allocating your time accordingly. Recent events have shown West Ham as a fan base of broad background and diverse social and political views. We have to respect each other. So brace yourself for what follows. I will not be carrying any banners, calling for anyone to resign, moaning about the board or criticising the move. I simply don't understand why some people have to hate so much. I want to put some perspective on things. Perspective that, like many, I didn't know existed until I watched that final game with my father.